Yes, storing food in bins before putting them into a locker makes it easier to retrieve. But more importantly, if something goes wrong, it contains a mess, always desirable on a cruising boat. Hi, I'm Nika Waters, and welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. Today, I'm sharing Carolyn's best tips on features to look for that make a bin useful for storing food on your boat. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by MantisMarine.com, maker of the Mantis Anchor, now available in models with and without a roll bar. Proven to set reliably in the most challenging bottoms, the Mantis Anchor digs like no other, making anchoring safer and boating more enjoyable. Mantis Marine brings to market practical, durable, and affordable marine products, including anchoring gear, scuba diving accessories, a rechargeable waterproof headlamp for hands-free lighting, and solar charging navigation lights. Visit MantisMarine.com and see for yourself. Now, you're probably not going to put an anchor into a storage bin, but what should you look for in your storage bins? Because Carolyn really recommends using bins to organize lockers and the refrigerator. They'll not only keep like foods and items together, but they'll keep cans from rolling and packages from sliding. And if anything will break or leak, then at least the mess will be contained. So what should you look for in your bins? The first is size. Size is a two-pronged question. First, will the bin fit where you want to put it? Not only will it fit in the locker, but will it fit tightly with the other bins in the space? The tighter they fit together, the less they'll slide when underway. And this translates both to less noise and less chance of something being damaged. And the other part of the size question is that the bin has to be properly sized for whatever you want to put in it. You'll need a combination of larger and smaller bins, shorter and taller. Another point on bins. Do you need them to be ventilated or not? Often a ventilated bin is great because there will be some airflow around whatever it is that's being stored. Whether it's food or cans, having air circulation is great. In the fridge or freezer, or cooler if that's what you're using, airflow in ventilated containers are essential to allow cold air to reach the food. You can buy solid containers and they will eventually get cold, but using them will result in uneven cooling. And if you can't find a ventilated bin that will fit a space, Carolyn's tip: you can add air holes to most solid bins. And it's a lot easier to make a square kind of hole with a Dremel tool than to try to use a drill on plastic. Solid bottoms. Regardless of whether the item needs a ventilated bin, solid bottoms are a must for several reasons. Openings in the bottom will bruise produce and can tear open bags and other containers with the motion of the boat. If water or anything else gets into the locker, a solid bottom will provide much better protection against damage to the bin contents. And if anything leaks, breaks, or rots, a solid bottom will ensure that the mess stays in the one bin. That's really useful. Your bins preferably are made out of plastic because plastic bins are easy to clean and can quickly be sterilized with a little bit of bleach water. Shape. While the height of the bins will be determined by the space available and what you're planning to store in the bin, virtually all storage spaces have square corners, and therefore square or rectangular bins make the best use of the space. And beware too, because some of the bins that you can buy have protruding edges for handles, and those take up space that could otherwise be used for your food or whatever you want to put into them. And that's the next point. Handles are nice on bins that you move around frequently, but they do take up space. And the reality is that it's hard to find bins that don't have handles. Another consideration, lids. Do you need a lid? Carolyn has only found 3 instances where she needs lids. 1, places where there might be a leak from above, such as a locker right under the chain plates. 2, bins placed in open areas, such as on the quarter berth. This helps keep dust from collecting in the bin and also looks a little tidier. and where you want to stack bins. Open stacking bins generally don't stay put with the motion of the boat, and the top bin will tend to have one side fall into the bin below if you don't use lidded bins. Some of the bins that you buy with lids actually have a little kind of a guard catchment in it so that they're designed to stack pretty nicely without too much slippage. Rugged construction. How sturdy the construction has to be depends somewhat on what you're going to store in the bin. A bin holding canned food is very susceptible to damage as the cans rock or slide with the motion of the boat. Bins that you frequently move to get to something underneath them, as well as bins with another bin on top, are much more likely to crack. And the bins that are overcrowded will easily break. And yes, in this situation, heavy-duty bins, which do cost a little bit more, they really do pay off in the long run. Because if you're starting with an empty boat, it can be a daunting task and a little bit of a puzzle situation to find all the bins that you need. Good ones are not cheap. Carolyn has learned her lesson trying to get by with fewer bins. On Calypso and Mischief, we're playing the Tetris game of trying to figure out what bins go where and how much space, how to use the space most efficiently. Buying lower quality bins just don't work. When Carolyn and Dave first moved aboard K-Tal, their first cruising boat, she had bought a bunch of Sterilite bins without lids and used them to transport things to the boat and then used them in the boat. Sterilite makes a great bin. She quickly learned that they were cherished possessions. The previous owner had also left a couple of really good Rubbermaid bins, and Carolyn really recommends either Rubbermaid or the Sterilite. Most of the other brands she's had a chance to look at just aren't quite as good. But you might find something that she hasn't seen. High-quality organizing bins you can find in the U.S. with some ease, particularly if you have a car and have access to going around to a couple of different places to look for them. There are links to the Sterilite and Rubbermaid containers in the show notes if you'd like to go onto Amazon and purchase them there. Having good organization on the boat makes great use of space and makes it much easier to find things that you're looking for. Don't be afraid to take your time to find the bins that work for you, and you may have a nice mix of sizes and heights that you're looking for. But don't forget, you got to look at size, ventilation, a solid bottom, plastic bins, the shape of them, handles, yes or no, lids, and rugged construction. I can't wait to share an anchorage with you when maybe we share our favorite storage containers when we're sitting in the cockpit toasting to our incredible good fortune at being able to live this amazing lifestyle. Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. We love hearing from our listeners. We love it when you share us with your friends. We love it when you don't forget to subscribe in your favorite podcast app. Have the most spectacular week.